Hello, welcome to another Sound of Astrology video. Today we're going to be talking about and listening to, really, we're going to be listening to, I'll be listening to and sharing my um, what I hear from Pallas. So, Pallas is widely known, I feel like widely known as the goddess of victory or the planet of victory. And initially, when I started really listening to her, I thought, okay, this is where I will have victory in my life. So I want you to take a look at your chart and see where Pallas is in your chart. What house is Pallas sitting in? Okay. And then I want you to drop that below in the comments. So tell me where Pallas is sitting in your chart, in what house it's sitting in. And so I saw her as victory, and I saw her as this place where I could receive encouragement that good things were going to happen. I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see my chart and you can see what it looks like. I took everything else off my chart so that there's no distractions. So Pallas is right here. This is what Pallas looks like on astrocharts.com. So if you, this is how you can see her. So I looked at that and I was like, okay, in the 10th house. So this is like business. This is public. And I was like, all right, I can really have hope and I can gain confidence with Pallas being in there. And then I was listening to this incredible podcast, which I'll link in the description. And they were talking about Jesus. They were talking about the 10 virgins and really understanding that story so much better. And in this like 2-second blip, they talked about wisdom. And one of the guys on there mentioned my Jesus necklace. Do you love it? One of the guys on there mentioned that goddess or wisdom is a goddess. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I love that so much. And so I went and looked up who the goddess of wisdom is, and it was Athena. And Athena, Pallas is representative of Athena. And as I kind of like took a step back a little bit and allowed myself to really listen to what Pallas is saying, what I heard her say is, I'm gonna cry, that not only is where Pallas in our chart, not only is it where we will have victory, and I'm not talking about victory over a battle, I'm talking about victory over the war. So that would be like in my chart, the war with my business. And I love what I do, and have loved I always have loved what I've done. And there's also been a massive struggle for me to step into that place, right? To do that and to really live it and to express it out loud. It's taken me quite some time to do that. And so seeing that has been really beneficial for me. But as I stopped and I listened to Pallas and what she was saying to me and what she wanted me to really know about myself, uh, is that I have the wisdom to do my business. And what she's saying to you is that you have the wisdom to do that thing in that area of your life, whatever area that is, whether that's the first house and it's about trusting you. And because that to me is another thing that I heard when I listened to Pallas is trust yourself. Trust yourself in this area of your life. First house, if that's about you, the second house about your worth and your value and your money. Also, first house, like your body. The third house, trust your communication and your ability to communicate. Now, I want to say this. Does this mean that there is no learning taking place or that you don't go read good books, that you don't hire mentors around this topic? No, that's not what I'm saying, because I have absolutely I hired a business coach twice, in fact. And I have gained knowledge. I've hired more than one business coach, actually, and more than twice. But I've hired these people to help me understand business and how to do business. But at the end of the day, it's important that I remember that I know my business best. Now, I'm going to say this too. Is this the case for everyone? Yes. Right? We should all trust ourselves. We should all trust our value and the wisdom that we have in it. But this is like our special gift that we have, and that place where also we doubt ourselves and we doubt our wisdom in that place the most, more than we doubt anything else. So the war, as I was listening to Pallas, I realized that the war that we're actually winning isn't necessarily with that thing. It's not necessarily with communication. It's not necessarily, like if it's in the seventh house, it's not necessarily with intimate relationships, or the sixth house with our daily activities or our health, or the fifth house with creativity and um, creation and joy, or the eighth house with transformation, um, and other people's assets. It's or the ninth house with learning and religion and travel and education, or the 11th house with our hopes and our dreams and the internet and our and groups of people, or the 12th house with our subconscious, with our personal relationship with God. It's not necessarily saying, and in fact, I don't believe it's saying, that the war that we're winning is with that other thing. The war that we're actually winning is the war with the doubt that we have about our wisdom to do, if it's direct, right? And the doubt that we have within ourselves to be, if it's in retrograde, like to be in our wisdom. And yes, doing our wisdom means that we also be in it, but there is a slight shift if Pallas is in retrograde versus if Pallas is in this directness, right? But the battle that we're winning is the one with ourselves, with the doubt that we have in that area of our life. And that is one of the most beautiful things about Pallas, is she is saying to you, she is calling you by name. And I want you to hear her call you by name and say, you have the natural wisdom to know when you need to listen to others, when you need to take their advice, and when you need to trust yourself and step in to that space of action with just you and not anybody else. She's asking us to have the courage to follow that. Now, the way in which she does it, and what, like the energy with which we follow our wisdom, or that we express our wisdom, comes via the sign that it's sitting in. So drop a comment below and tell me, what sign is your Pallas sitting in? So I was chatting with someone, and her Pallas is in the 8th house in Cancer. And as I was listening to her chart, I really heard it just say so loudly to trust the wisdom that she has in nurturing herself to transformation, and that she knows how to do that. And I have seen her do that so clearly with her clients. I've seen her, she's a friend of mine, so I've seen her do it very clearly in our friendship with me. And it really is this trusting of this place of nurturing. Now, mine is sitting in Aries, right? So it's this very, I don't want to say dynamic. I want to say, let me just look at it. Should we look at it together? uh, Aries is this very bold energy. It's this action taking energy. And as I listen to what she's saying, to me, it just, I just hear her saying, don't be afraid. Like, okay, fear's not bad, but she's saying, be courageous and take action and trust that you know the action to take. That's what I hear my Pallas saying as I listen to her live. Trust the action. You know the actions to take. You know the actions to take in business. You know the actions to take publicly. Trust that. That's what I hear her saying. And so I love how individual it is. And so you could have Pallas in Cancer in the eighth house, and it might sound a little bit different just depending on the relationships that are there, depending on what Pallas is saying to you. If you have Pallas in the ninth house, in um, in Cancer, it could say a lot of things differently. It was so beautiful as I did a session for someone yesterday, and we were looking at some things in her chart. And as I really like honed in and listened to what her chart was saying, the ninth house, it wasn't about learning, it wasn't about education, it wasn't about travel, it was about religion. For her, it was about religion. And that was such a beautiful example of expressing and how each chart expresses a little bit differently because it's a reflection of us, and also why there's a little bit of a range to what the each house represents, because for each person it's going to be a little bit different. Now, do we learn? Are we taught through religion? Yes, absolutely. Can we learn through adventure? Yes. Sometimes does religion feel like a little bit of an adventure? Yes, at least to me, it has. Right? So each chart is going to sound a little bit different because you are a little bit different. Even twins born a minute apart or 2 minutes apart, where everything's stable and nothing really changes, right? Because sometimes that happens. Even those are going to express differently because they are different people. So let me just make sure that I've shared. Oh, okay. This is another thing that I wanted to share. Pallas will also show us the place where other people can see our natural gift in this area, but where we might struggle to see it. And the reason why we struggle to see it in this area of our life is because of that doubt that we have. Okay. So when we look at Pallas, when we look at our Pallas, we need to remember that other people see this as a gift in us. And then we can claim that gift and start looking for the evidence that we in fact do have that gift. Yeah, Pallas is just begging us to trust ourselves. Trust yourself. You can trust yourself to live in that frequency or the sign that Pallas is in the area of your life that Pallas is sitting in. Feels a lot like hope to me, a lot like courage. She's asking you to trust you. And I think that there is nothing more beautiful than Pallas could say. That is our wisdom, right? Our wisdom is to trust ourselves. Okay, Let me know in the comments if you just love this so much and if you have a greater appreciation now for your Pallas. Like and subscribe and be on the lookout for more Sound of Astrology videos. We'll see you next time.